Sacco and Feliz, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFeliz.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.
The Kentucky Derby, we're talking horses. You know Joanna Wisher, we love Joanna. She's so cute, works for Trump. Her father, who's a great music guy, Robert, checks in. He says, session drummer Steve Gadd, he said, Buddy Rich, League of His Own. Ian Pace, he mentioned, from Deep Purple. I think we've already got Keith Moon in there, Heshy Ogenbaum, Dave Clark. Somebody mentioned Sheila E., and somebody mentioned Ringo Starr from the Beatles. Anyway, tomorrow is the 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby, a race we cover every year. And I don't know how long Dick Jerardi has been doing this. He's been out with me forever. I don't hear from Jimmy a lot, Shapiro. But he calls me when it comes time for the big races, and it's always Dick Jerardi. Hey, Dick, how many years have you been doing the commentating, the analysis for the Triple Crown races?
About 4 decades, Sid.
Wow.
Starting in my hometown of Baltimore, and then I've been in Philly for 40 years. So, yes, 4 decades worth of commentating.
Now, Baltimore, of course, you've got Pimlico with the second race of this thing is. I don't know. Am I wrong? I don't know.
It is. It's not this year. That they're rebuilding it like they're rebuilding Belmont Park, so they're moving the race to Laurel, which is about 30 minutes away. But
I know. Sure.
The Preakness is at Pimlico normally. Yeah.
Normally, right. So I got a buddy named Keith Kantrowitz, and he's actually taking me to the Yankee game Monday night for my birthday, which was April the 19th. But he has a place up in Saratoga, and he's asked me 3 times already this week to go. You mentioned the Belmont, to go to the Belmont in Saratoga. You mentioned the fact that they're working on the Belmont. That track will be done next year. So what an unbelievable opportunity horse racing has this year, running the Belmont, maybe a Triple Crown possibility at beautiful Saratoga.
Yeah, it's the 3rd year in a row they've been up there, Sid, because, as you know, they're rebuilding Belmont Park. And Belmont Park, the new one, is actually going to open September the 18th, and then they'll run the Belmont Stakes at the new Belmont Park in 2027.
Awesome. Well, let's get to the Kentucky Derby. This is the big one. I got to tell you, one memory I've got. This is years ago. I haven't been doing this for 4 decades. But I went to Vegas years ago. For the big fight, it was De La Hoya Mayweather, I think, okay? And everybody came to this. I think that was the one, De La Hoya Mayweather. But everybody came. And I remember there was a picture Saturday morning, or maybe Sunday morning, of all the planes, all these private planes at the local airport in Vegas that were literally, Dick Jerardi, parked so close to each other that the wings were almost touching. And what happened was, that afternoon, before the big fight in Vegas that night, was the Kentucky Derby. So, Tom Brady, Clint Eastwood, hundreds, I'm not lying here, hundreds of big-time celebrities made their way from Kentucky to Vegas. What a day that must have been for those guys. You get a Kentucky Derby and a prize fight in Vegas the same day, but for some reason, that one sticks with me.
I remember the day well, and I specifically remember Tom Brady. And what's interesting, Sid, is that the airport at Louisville is literally 5 minutes from Churchill Downs. It's right across the highway, so it's not hard. And the same scene there with all those jets lined up next to each other with the wings almost touching.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Where are we with, you remember a couple of years ago, Dick, and I hate bringing up something negative because I love tomorrow. I really do. I love the pomp. I love the circumstance. I get into it big time. But a couple of years ago, remember when like 7 horses died at the Kentucky Derby, and there were all these crazy conspiracy theories, and nothing really came of that after that. Did we ever find out what that was all about?
It was one of those bizarre happenstances. The good news, it hasn't repeated itself. And Sid, over the last, I'd say, 15 years, they've done a great job. The number of horse casualties has come down dramatically just because of different protocols at different racetracks. But, yeah, that was definitely an anomaly, and it was a scary thing. It might have happened for sure.
Doing sports down in South Florida for as long as I did, that's when I first got to know you, Dick, and Jimmy probably too. And I'd be at Gulfstream all the time, big races, a lot of the the big races they actually held at Gulfstream then. And I know Santa Anita, for example, has some big races too. Obviously, some of these horses running in the Derby ran at Santa Anita. So I'm aware of some of the big races throughout the year around the country that, of course, are still not as big as the big three. But in terms of health for the actual horse racing sport, where are we?
The Kentucky Derby itself has never been healthier. They can't build enough seats at Churchill Downs, and the ratings will be great on NBC.
How many seats are there? I'm just curious.
Well, there'll be more than 150,000 people there tomorrow.
Wow.
Now, many of them will be in the infield with no seats, but most of them will be either seated or in an area where you can hang out at a bar, at a restaurant, or whatever. So, yeah, and they keep building on, and people keep buying the tickets, and they're not inexpensive. So the Derby itself, the Triple Crown is fine. The Breeders' Cup is fine. The problem, Sid, is it's an event-driven sport without enough big events on a regular basis. It's not like, say, the PGA Tour. You know what's going to happen every week. NASCAR, you know what's going to happen. Obviously, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, we all know what's going to happen. That's the issue for horse racing. It just doesn't have enough of the big events.
Surprised, because there are tracks everywhere, and now when I was a kid, for example, Dick, and don't get offended or upset, but I used to live very close to an OTB, and my dad would never bet on anything. He had no addiction issues, which he's the complete opposite of me, thank God. But he would bet the big races, so he would grab me and say, "Come on, son, we're going OTB on Kings Highway." He bet $2, $2 to win. Maybe he'd splurge and go $5 for a win, place, and show, whatever it was. But I remember walking in, and I was like, "Oh my God!" It was like the waiting room in Beetlejuice. They were like half dead. The cigarettes were smoked down to the filter. Old flannel shirts. A guy that looked like they spilled coffee or scotch all over it. It was the worst looking clientele I'd ever seen, and I was like, are these the people that enjoy horse racing? You don't got to do that anymore. Now you can just sit on your phone and basically bet at any track in the country. Why would it be more popular?
Correct. So 95% of the money now is bet away from the racetrack. And right, there aren't brick and mortar. It's just not as many exist anymore. Yeah, you can bet on your phone, you can bet on your laptop, you can bet anywhere. But again, the big events like the Derby, people want to be there, to be seen, to see other people. So it is an absolute scene. And what's cool about tomorrow, Sid, you got 20 horses running. It's the only race we have in the country with more than 14. So the betting opportunities at betonline.ag are just outrageous.
Yeah.
You can get 5-1 on the favorite at the moment, Renegade. That doesn't happen in any other horse race all year.
No, it really doesn't. And like Dick just said, betonline.ag. That's where I recommend you place your wager tomorrow, betonline.ag. Yeah, I'm looking for like a 5-2 horse here somewhere, or like you said, 5-1 on the favorite, which is Renegade, and further ado, not far behind at 11-2. Now, I'm not sure if that'll be the same tomorrow. You mentioned 20 horses. Usually there's a couple of scratches, right? So we're down to maybe 18 or something, although maybe not every single year. So why do you think that's the case, that you got such a good buy here at 5-1?
Yeah, I think because there's so many horses and there's no obvious winner. I mean, like Renegade, Further Ado, Commandment, Chief Wallaby, the Puma, they all kind of look the same, Sid. So that's why it's hard for the betting public to separate, like, which one should be the favorite. There's no American Pharaoh who won the Triple Crown in 2015. There's no like a Triple Crown winner that we had in 2018 in Justify. Those horses just aren't in this race. And we actually have had 3 scratches, but there were 4 on the also eligible list, so they've all moved into the starting gate. So at the moment, we still have 20, but 3 of the original horses are out and 3 others moved in.
No, it's funny. I got into horse racing big time years and years ago, and I didn't know much about the sport. I didn't go watch these guys, the horses race every year, the guys, but I started betting based on the jockey. So when I first started getting into this sport, just so you know, Dick Jerardi, Gary Stevens was on fire every time this guy, sure. and it was an era where a lot of horses, almost every year, they'd win the first 2 legs, they get you all excited, and then havoc, like charismatic havoc would happen at Belmont in that third leg. Silver Charm, I think, also came up short of Gary Stevens' horse. We had a stretch there many, many years where a lot of these horses won the first 2 legs and couldn't find a way to win that third one, but at least it kept up the interest, because the last thing you want is the Belmont to go off without a possibility of a Triple Crown.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I went there 9 times to cover it, and I was 0 for 9, and I'm thinking this is never going to happen. And finally, then we had American Pharaoh finally break through after 36 37 years, affirmed in 78, then American Pharoah in 2015.
Wow. It was that long?
Yeah, it was 37 years. It's the longest ever. It was 25 years between citation and Secretariat in 73, and then we had 3 and 5 years.
Right.
And Secretariat, Seattle Slew, and affirmed.
Right. Oh, amazing horses and affirmed. That's the first Sports Illustrated I ever got was Stevie Cawthon, 16 years old, on the cover. And he had all those epic races against Alydar, I think. Isn't that right?
Correct, 100%. Alydar was second in all 3 Triple Crown races.
Well, I tell you what, I could actually work for you one of these days, Dick.
Yes, you could.
I know more than I thought I knew. Let's get to this race. Oh, I do want to ask about the owners, though, because, I also lost some interest in the sport. I'll be honest. I lost interest in the sport when they suspended Bob Baffert. He's back, but I think he's only got 1 horse in this race tomorrow, right?
He's got 2 now. Litmus Test was kind of a late entry. He's got Patente and Litmus Test. They're both about 20 to 1 at betonline.ag at the moment.
They're both at 20 to 1. So he doesn't have a big horse in this race. So who owns Renegade?
Mike Rapoli, who's Vitamin Water, St. John's. It helps Rick Pitino put a St. John's thing together, a guy from Queens who grew up going to Aqueduct.
Wow. So Rick Pitino was part of it. Because I know Rick is a big deal at Saratoga. You had Rick for years. You had Bill Parcells, Mike Francesco, all those guys with the horses up in Saratoga. Okay, I got a buddy of mine, and he told me, my buddy John, he said, Sid, the 2 horses, put them any way you want it. It's going to be a 9. Who else did he like? And he liked Wonder Dean also. He liked Wonder Dean right now going up at 33 to 1, and the Puma going up at 9 to 1. But he doesn't know. You're the star, Dick Jerardi. Give me the 3 horses that people can box tomorrow and win some money.
So I like the 7, the non-Bourbon, the Japanese horse, who's actually bred in Kentucky, but he's raced in Japan. I like the 6 Commandment and the 18 Further Ado. And the order for me would be 7, 18, 6 in that order. But, yeah, if you want to box them up, that's fine, too.
Okay, so say it again now, quickly.
Yep, 7, the non-Bourbon, 18 Further Ado, and 6 Commandment.
7, 18, and 6. The Super Bowl, for example, you get to bet like 9,000 other bets outside the line and the total and all that stuff, right? Is there a lot of that with the Kentucky Derby or no, right?
Yeah, at Bet Online, there's probably 50 prop bets.
Really?
How about this one? Said winning distance over under a length and a half. I'm recommending bet the over on that one. Here's one. Will Secretariat's record, which has stood since 1973, be tied or broken? Yes is 15 to 1. I would recommend a no bet. Nobody can break this record. It might stand forever. And here's a cool one. Baffert, you mentioned him. Will a Baffert horse win the Oaks and then the Derby? He's got a nice horse named Explorer in the Oaks tonight. You get 66 to 1 if Baffert can win the Oaks and the Derby at Bet Online.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one a lot.
I thought you would.
All right, Dick. All right, betonline.ag. And you and I will do this again in a couple of weeks as we get set for the Preakness. You're the best in the business, Dick, by like miles. It's not even close.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.